Hello. So today I want to take you on a kind of like a bit of a tour of Dawson City. I have this booklet right here, Dawson City Walking Tour from the Visitor Center. And so I'm kind of gonna be following this, like, reading some information and then kind of summarizing it to you as I show you, different historic buildings and sites and whatnot. So there's kind of three sections in here, three kind of sections to the tour, right? Like Central, North, and South Dawson. Yeah, and I'll also do a little bit of a walk along the river. There's some information signs and such. Yeah. So as you probably know, Dawson City's history is largely tied with the Klondike Gold Rush, which happened from 1896 to about 1900. So you still have gold mining here today. So, and like the main industries would be that and, well, tourism. So before that, this land was settled by the Trondek Hwetchen. When the gold seekers came and settled here, they were displaced and moved to a settlement that was called Moosehide Village. Yeah, so there's also a bunch of the history here kind of relates to the relationships with the First Nations people, Trondek Hwetchen, right? So Trondek is actually where the river named Klondike comes from. Klondike is actually kind of a mispronunciation of Trondek. And of course, so Dawson's located on the intersection of the Yukon River and Klondike River. And yeah, and so the Klondike Gold Rush is of course called the Klondike Gold Rush because of the Klondike River. So the population here actually peaked around the Gold Rush, and it was about 30,000 people here. And then later on it dropped to maybe about 700, and today it's around 2,000. So it was actually the Yukon Territory's first capital before Whitehorse. So the first of the three sections of this booklet focuses on the Dawson Center. And a lot of that focuses on these kind of fraternal organizations. So they, would kind of help the community in certain ways, further their own interests, but largely they were built on exclusionary principles. So membership was limited to basically like white men. So this is the Visitor Information Center. It's a reconstruction of an Alaska Commercial Company office. So the Alaska Commercial Company at one point had more than 50 buildings near the river here. The river's over that way. Yeah, so most of those were warehouses for storing goods that were being traded along the river by steamer. So this is the Yukon Order of Pioneers Lodge Hall. So it was established in, or I guess this order was established in 1894, and under the motto "Do unto others as you would be done by." And originally membership was exclusive to non-Indigenous men who had lived in the Yukon Valley since 1888. So since 1902, this property right here has been everything from a restaurant, clothing store, bakery, cigar store, hardware store, grocery store. Yeah, and today it's a, you know, it sells food and drinks. Yeah, there's kind of like two sections to it. I'd say right now it's where a lot of people go to get some like late night pizza or something like that. So this building over here, you know, was constructed in the year 1900. It's been, you know, everything from a restaurant, a barber shop, a hotel, and then a place for an obstetrician. In 1972, it became a gospel hall. So this booklet talks a little bit about how the relationship between the indigenous people here and the church is rather complicated, because on the one hand they were drawn to kind of like the whole sense of community, but on the other hand the church played a large part in kind of the whole residential school system that was implemented here. So quickly I wanted to talk about the downtown whole, quickly I wanted to talk about the Sourdough Saloon in the downtown hotel. So you know, even though it's not in the booklet, so a big kind of like attraction here in Dawson is the I think the sourdough shot, which is basically you know, you take a shot that's kind of had the mummified human toe in it, so it's like this slightly you know, cannibalistic tourist attraction. But yeah, but the Sourdough Saloon is also just a popular hangout spot. Sourdough actually means like a miner or prospector who's been in the area before, you know, before the gold, you know, the major gold discovery happened, and you know, all the people came over, like you know, the Chilkoot, or you know, the different passes that we've actually been seeing, you know, going through Skagway, Haines, and Valdez. So the big thing with the sourdoughs is that, you know, they staked out all the claims before, you know, the vast majority of the people going over these passes actually got here, because it would probably take, I think, like about 2 years to actually get to Dawson City at the time. So the store, you know, the building across from me, was constructed sometime before 1901. It's had many uses, such as it was used by a photographer, by you know, used as a grocery store, and also like a storehouse. In 1977 it became a cafe, you know, Klondike Cakes, named after a dancer and performer who worked at in Dawson at the height of the Klondike Gold Rush. The white building on this corner was originally built by the Arctic Brotherhood, a fraternity here, you know, that was you know, that had a hall here in Dawson City. You know, it was later used by another fraternity called the Eagles, and also used as a community center. In 1971, it became Diamond Tooth Gertie's, Canada's first legal gambling hall. It's named after Gertie Lovejoy, who's actually a Klondike Gold Rush era dance hall queen. So she was around a lot longer before this became a dance hall. So today it's actually one of the most it's a very highly visited place here in Dawson. So there's they do kind of can dance shows, while also being a gambling hall, if you want to partake in that. Yeah, they do 3 shows a night, and so when I first came to Dawson, I actually got to see a little bit of the last show that the previous Gertie put on, the previous lead singer, and so now they have a new singer. So I'll actually probably include some footage from the shows. Yeah. So this building over here was originally built as a library, but after a fire, all the books were moved to the public school over here, and later the building was sold to the Freemasons. So this is another bar in town. It's also not in the guidebook. I haven't been inside, but I know there is karaoke inside sometimes. Across the street is the Yukon School of Visual Arts. Like many other buildings around here, it's had many uses before this, before its current one, such as a liquor store, probably other things too. Yeah, so right now it provides students with what's equivalent of a first year of a bachelor's of fine arts degree. So these are actually about 4 different buildings that were at one point purchased by somebody and made into a hotel. Today it's actually a popular hangout spot. There's the kind of 2 places you could go into, the pit and the lounge. The pit is kind of just a bar you could hang out at, whereas the lounge is more of has more of a nightclub feel, and also does karaoke. So this is another one of those buildings that was owned by a fraternity, the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, and today it's a public art gallery and performing arts venue. So there's a couple of restaurant names back there I want to point out, like the Sourdough Joe's restaurant and Chichaco's Bake Shop. So those two terms, sourdoughs and chichacos, are actually talking about again the miners that were here before the discovery, or kind of in the area before the discovery, like the main big discovery, and the Chichacos, which were the miners that came, that started to come here after hearing about the gold strike. So ahead of me is the old Canadian Bank of Commerce. So it's one of the few buildings that's one of the few remaining historical buildings on the Dawson City waterfront. At one point, the famous poet and bard Robert Service actually worked here. So he's very famous in the Yukon for his works such as the cremation of Sam McGee, a bunch of other ones. Yeah, I don't know what they're titled, but so this is the only remaining historical waterfront building related to freighting and warehousing. So today it's a visitor center for the Dempster Highway, or the Northwest Territories portion of the Dempster Highway. Yeah, so the whole freighting and warehousing kind of part of town went a bit obsolete when the railway was completed. So I'll be going along the river now, looking at different information signs. So I'm near the SS Kino, so they'll be talking a little bit about that. I mean, here it talks about how you know, the river is like a highway, right? So for the longest time, and kind of, you know, for the First Nations people, right, you know, the Yukon River and other rivers were always this highway. And then later it also became a highway for the gold rush stampeders. Some people you know, traveled by steamboat to get to Dawson. So you can imagine people coming from you know, Vancouver or Washington or whatever, and going all the way around here to St. Michael. And then from St. Michael they take a steamboat, you know, up the Yukon River, and then to Dawson City. So those were kind of some of the more wealthier people coming up here, but the vast majority, you know, took routes from Skagway or from Dai, you know. So Skagway would be what, White Pass Trail. Dai would be Chilkoot. Yeah, Chilkoot Trail. There's Haines somewhere nearby. That's the Chilkat Trail. And there's also some people that try to do the all-American route from Valdez. Where's Valdez? It's either here, I think it's here. It's got to be here. Yeah, this is Valdez. I think this is Anchorage. This is a Kenai Peninsula right here. So these steamers were kind of like the lifeline of the North, right? So they would they'd be kind of ferrying people and supplies up and down the river. So here's a view of the Kino. I should really show you the other side of it, which is the side that propels it forward. So yeah, there's the great big water propeller. Yeah. So yeah, I think there were a lot of these, like probably hundreds of steamers like this operating in the rivers around here. And of course, those who took the mountain passes, like let's say the one from Skagway, you know, they would have to basically build boats, right? Makeshift boats and rafts, and then travel down the Yukon River to get to Dawson City. Yeah, so as mentioned kind of before, you know, this was the home of the Trondek Wetchen, basically translated to people of the Klondike. Trondek is you know, Klondike is a mispronunciation of Trondek. You know, when the gold seekers kind of came here, the Trondek Wetchen moved to Moosehide Village um, to protect their culture and language and such. Yeah, here we could see a map of historic Dawson City and some of the places that we've actually seen already, and some that we haven't. Yeah, so with all the gold coming in, Dawson became rather wealthy. It was sometimes known as the Paris of the North, and there were a lot of kind of amenities and luxuries that weren't kind of common in I don't know, like in a lot of the world, really. Dawson was actually the largest city in Western Canada, so yeah, just with 30,000 people, right? So that's kind of incredible to think about, right? Like larger than Vancouver. Yeah, I think I heard there was, you could get like champagne from France here, like right? Paris of the North. But yeah, what kind of luxuries does it say here? I think electricity, telephone services, luxury foods, high fashion. Yep. Some pictures. Yeah, so originally mining was kind of at first it was like kind of gold panning on the surface, but what happened is that a lot of the gold it would be underground near the bedrock, so so you'd have to dig for it, and a lot of the year that was pretty impossible. I mean, in general, you had permafrost that you had to melt. So like the original way of melting permafrost was by building fires, and then putting out the fire, digging out like a foot of dirt, a muck, and then doing that over and over again. So that actually used up a lot of wood. There's other methods they developed, such as using like a hose with steam or water even. It turned out that like cold water was just as effective as hot water at dissipating the permafrost. And of course later on everything moved to large scale operations. So these are what are called dredges. So they basically turn a creek upside down, right? Because the stuff you want is on the bottom, and they go and they I think I saw it say somewhere, or maybe I heard it was like powered by water and gravity. I mean, I don't totally understand it. I mean you definitely had an electric supply as well. This is cool. This is gold production by Klondike dredges. So peaked right here in the 1910s. Yeah. So this, I think, is what it kind of produces afterwards, with the trails it leaves behind. So on this map there's actually a place where you could visit one of these dredges, dredge number 4. It's a little bit far. I'm not sure, I might bicycle there at some point. So we're in Dawson City. Okay, so I think I'll actually end our little tour there. I was gonna do the other kind of two sections of the booklet, but I don't know. I think the central part was probably the most interesting, and we got through that. Yeah, I don't want to make the video too long either, Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you're around, if you're in the Yukon, you know, in Alaska, I highly recommend checking out Dawson City. In the next video, I plan to upload a performance from the midnight show of Diamond Tooth Gertie's. And then after that, I might actually, you know, I've been on a schedule of uploading a video every second day, but I might have to take a break, simply because I'll be going up the Dempster and the Dempster Highway, and I won't have a chance to upload or edit for a while.